Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we have some incredibly interesting news to go over. So as most of you guys are well aware, the new Black Ops 4 update went live yesterday. I originally planned to do a video on that today, talking about the update and breaking down exactly what happened, but then some much more interesting news came out, so I'm going to be pushing that video back until tomorrow. Today, we're going to be discussing the development of Black Ops 4, because an interesting article came out from Kotaku, which reveals that not only did Treyarch lie about the development of Black Ops 4, but we also got some insight as to what goes on behind closed doors, and just how much influence Activision has over the Call of Duty developers and the Call of Duty franchise as a whole. So in the article, which I highly recommend you guys check out, I'll put a link to it down there in the description, about a dozen current and former Treyarch employees opened up to Kotaku to discuss the development of Black Ops 4. A lot of the article is spent discussing just how stressful crunch time is going up until the launch of the game. They talk about how QA testers are basically treated like second-class citizens and how rough the games industry can be, and while they're discussing all of that and while they're outlining all of that, Kotaku revealed some pretty crazy news about Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. So it turns out, Black Ops 4 was intended to have a campaign. You guys may remember hearing a bunch of news back in the day about how the campaign was never intended to be in Black Ops 4, and that Battle Royale was always the plan, but according to these current and former Treyarch employees, the original vision was to not have Battle Royale in Black Ops 4, and rather have a campaign that was set after the events of Black Ops 3. The original vision was to have a campaign that you could play with and against your friends, or play by yourself with AI bots. They had several builds developed of this campaign with complete art assets and voice acting, and back in 2017, basically everything was in place for Black Ops 4 to have a new post-apocalyptic campaign that could be played solo or in a 2v2 setting. The idea was for you to be able to play by yourself or with and against friends, controlling different factions and affecting the different sides, and really tailoring the entire experience to how you wanted the story to play out. And it was also going to continue the Black Ops 4 story because, again, it was going to be set after the events of Black Ops 3, not before the events of Black Ops 3. While going into the winter break of 2017, everything seemed to be going well at Treyarch. The staff built these different builds of the campaign, things were going pretty well, but when they got back from winter break, the Treyarch leadership decided to cut that campaign mode. They originally thought that they would cut that campaign mode out of the game and then replace it with a more traditional Call of Duty single-player campaign, but there really wasn't enough time for that, because Black Ops 4 originally was going to be coming out in November of 2018, but like we discussed several times here in the channel, because Rockstar decided to release Red Dead Redemption 2 in October, Activision decided to make it so Black Ops 4 also comes out in October, so that gave Treyarch even less time to start up a new campaign from scratch, and eventually they decided to scrap the entire idea because they simply did not have enough time to get everything done. Believe it or not, this is actually the second time this has happened to Treyarch in recent years. Going back to Black Ops 3, which had a very controversial campaign for being a pretty bad campaign, all things considered. Originally, the Black Ops 3 campaign was going to be an open world game, but halfway through development, they scrapped that idea as well and went back to a more traditional style, and maybe that's the reason why so many people dislike the Black Ops 3 campaign. It was basically slapped together in a very short period of time by people who were working 70-hour weeks just to try to make their deadlines. Now, going back to Black Ops 4 here for a second, because they cut the single-player campaign from the game, we now only had multiplayer and zombies, so therefore they had to create something else before the game came out in October. Because of the popularity of the Battle Royale genre, and because so many Treyarch staff members were fans of PUBG, the plans for a Call of Duty Battle Royale mode started to take shape. According to the article, development for Blackout never even started until 9 months before the launch. So basically, in February of 2018, they started working on Blackout. In September of 2018, they released the beta for it, and in October, Blackout launched with the game. This explains why the mode was so bare bones back during the beta, and it also gives us more insight to the development process of the Call of Duty franchise, because every year they say, this game has been in development for 3 years, and so we think to ourselves, yeah, so the multiplayer, they've been working on it for 3 straight years now, it's going to be really polished, right? But it turns out, in a lot of cases, the real development for the actual content that we see in the game is made in less than 1 year, with the developers and the intern staff working absurd amounts of overtime in order to get the game out on time. In fact, a lot of Treyarch developers have been looking at what Ubisoft did with the Assassin's Creed franchise. If you guys don't know, Assassin's Creed would come out every single year, just like the Call of Duty franchise, but eventually they took a year off, and the franchise really benefited from that quite a bit because fans had time to kind of settle down a little bit and not feel burnt out, and the developers were able to take their time with the next game, and the next game was really good as a result. And a lot of people at Treyarch, according to this article, also feel as though taking a year off the annual release cycle would not only revitalize the Call of Duty franchise, but it would result in better games overall, because the studio could actually take their time and not end up sleeping in their offices, working 70-hour weeks, drinking themselves to sleep during the annual crunch window. I've talked about this exact idea a couple of times here on the channel, and I definitely agree with these developers. I do feel as though Call of Duty taking a year off would do wonders for the franchise, and with the recent news that Treyarch has been conscripted into making Call of Duty 2020 after Raven Software and Sledgehammer Games failed, means that's not going to happen, right? If anything, the next Black Ops game, which apparently is going to be Black Ops 5, apparently it's going to be even more rushed than Black Ops 4, because they have even shorter of a development window than games like Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4 or Call of Duty World War II or basically anything else. So I'm really concerned about Call of Duty 2020 personally, and I really do feel as though taking a year off would benefit the Call of Duty franchise. But going back to the article here for a second, another interesting point is just how much control Activision has over the studios as the parent company of the Call of Duty series. For those who don't know, and I often see misinformation about this being spread all over the internet, here are the facts. Activision owns Call of Duty. They own the IP. They also own Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer Games. They are the top of the top. They control pretty much everything. Anything they say goes when it comes to the COD series. Now, according to the article and these 12 anonymous current and former Treyarch employees, a lot of people at Treyarch hate how Activision continues to aggressively monetize their games. Whether we're talking about the Black Ops Pass or the $30 hammer or putting weapons exclusively within supply drops, or making it so we get duplicates from our supply drops, a huge number of the Treyarch staff are against these business practices, but there really isn't anything they can do. It sort of goes back to what David Vonderhaar was saying back before Black Ops 4 came out. They asked him, I think it was actually in a Game Informer interview, they asked him about the monetization of Black Ops 4, and he simply said, I just make the shoes, which is to say that he and his staff make the content, and how it's handled from a business perspective is really out of their hands. That's pretty much all on Activision and some of the Treyarch higher-ups. Now, that's not to say that Treyarch has no control over their game whatsoever. They do have some control, but a lot of it is controlled by Activision. It was recently revealed that Activision has influence over the setting and the theme of each game. It was actually Activision that told Sledgehammer Games to take the franchise back to World War II, and recently it was revealed that Activision is pushing Infinity Ward to make Modern Warfare as controversial as possible in order to make more headlines and therefore get more attention. But when it comes to certain gameplay aspects of each Call of Duty game, the developers do actually have a lot of creative control. The idea to cut the single-player campaign from Black Ops 4 and replace it with a Battle Royale mode was actually all Treyarch's idea, but to go along with that, the name Blackout was not the name that Treyarch wanted. Treyarch wanted something else, but Activision insisted upon the Blackout name, and so therefore Treyarch had to go along with it. I think it's really interesting to kind of get a look behind the curtain like this, you know? Like, game development is oftentimes so shrouded in mystery that we really have no idea what's going on, but this Kotaku article here has really opened a lot of eyes to just how dysfunctional the game development process can be and just how much influence a publisher can have over the studios that it controls. Black Ops 4 went from a game that was going to be set after the events of Black Ops 3 in a post-apocalyptic world to being set before the events of Black Ops 3, and that definitely explains why the game reuses so much content from the previous games. Basically, Black Ops 4 was originally visioned to be this post-apocalyptic game that was set after Black Ops 3, but that was basically all scrapped. And you guys may remember hearing the rumors about how Black Ops 4 was going to be a lot like Overwatch and have all sorts of crazy mechanics. Well, because so much of that was scrapped, they had to fall back on content that was already previously developed in order to meet their yearly deadline. You've heard of other games out there delaying their game to make sure it's actually good and ready for launch. Well, they can't do that here in the Call of Duty franchise, and that's why here in Black Ops 4, they brought back the Black Ops 3 specialist, and they brought back so many maps from Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, and it also explains why the game released in a super incomplete state, and why it relies so much on post-launch content and post-launch updates. It's because they simply did not have enough time after they scrapped so much of the original game during the development process. Now, the worst part about this, and I've also talked about this here in the past, is that the problem with all this post-launch content and the fact that Treyarch is working so hard to release maps and guns and specialists and everything else for Black Ops 4 is that's really going to cut into the development process of their next game, right? If they're still working on this game right now, how are they also working on their next game? And once they're finally done with Black Ops 4 and they're finally fully committed to Black Ops 5, they're already going to be pretty behind because they spend so much time trying to catch things up here with Black Ops 4, which, going full circle here, goes back to that idea that the Call of Duty franchise should probably take a year off, but Activision will never freaking do that because the Call of Duty franchise still makes way too much money. Now, for me personally, I love the COD franchise. You guys know I do. I've been playing it for 12 years now, and here I am in Black Ops 4, still getting Prestige Master. I've still unlocked Dark Matter. Recently, you guys saw the video, I completed 100% of the game's challenges. I love this franchise, I really do, but even I can say that the COD series is starting to reach a breaking point. I feel as though Activision is constantly pushing the developers to make more and more, and they're always shifting the goalpost, and they're always forcing these deadlines, and as a result of all this, the quality of the games has been going down in recent years, and it's causing a lot of people that play the game to not enjoy the franchise anymore, and it's also causing the people who make the games to get really burnt out and lose passion for what they do, and it's a very vicious cycle. When these people aren't passionate about what they're doing, it's going to suffer. The game's going to suffer. It's going to get worse and worse. They have to be passionate about what they're doing, and it's hard to do that when you're working 70-hour weeks and sleeping in your offices and constantly scrapping things and shifting the goalposts and changing all sorts of different things about the game halfway through development. That was actually a huge focal point of the article. These developers and these interns and the contractors and all these people working on the Call of Duty franchise, they don't really have a very good work environment because of the crunch that they're forced to go through every time a game comes out. These people are no longer passionate about the game that they're creating. They're just creating it because that's their job and that's what they have to do. And I think there's definitely something to be said about that kind of commitment and that kind of work ethic, but creative jobs are a lot different than most other jobs out there, you know? Even here on YouTube, back in the day, I would feel compelled to my core to make as many videos as possible, even if I didn't feel any inspiration or any desire to do so, and the result was I now have 5,000 videos here on YouTube between my two channels, but a lot of those videos, especially early on, were videos that were pretty low quality. They didn't really have that much effort or time put into them. I was pushing out videos just to push out videos because I felt as though I had a deadline. I felt as though I had this quota that I basically had to meet, and after a while of doing that, I started to lose my passion for my hobby as well as my job, right? YouTube is not only my job, but it's also my passion. It's my hobby. I love gaming. I've done it my entire life. And after doing that for a while, I started to lose that passion, right? Which is a really bad place to be in. That's why these days, like a lot of other YouTubers out there, more and more people are finally starting to get on board with this. I don't force out content anymore just to meet some imaginary quota. I make the videos I want to make. I have a ton of ones I'm working on in the background, lots of very big video projects, which you guys will be seeing soon, but I make the videos I want to make and when I want to make them, and I feel as though the final product is a lot better as a result as compared to back in, 2013, 2014, where I was pushing out 2 videos a day because I felt as though I basically had to push out those videos, right? You then look at Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer, and they don't have that same luxury, right? They have to make these games on a schedule, and if there's a problem in development, well, they have to scrap everything and work twice as hard to get the game out on time because Activision has set a deadline. I think that's why there's so much turnover within the gaming industry. I mean, if you think about it, who are the faces of the Call of Duty franchise? We've had 402, we had JD 2020, Michael Condrey, Glenn Schofield, to a lesser extent like Lee Ross and Cameron Dayton, and all these guys are gone now, right? Pretty much only David Vonderhaar and Dan Bunting are left, and it's honestly surprising they've been here so long, because usually a game studio will have a complete turnover every couple of years, because so many people quit, so many people get fired, they go on to different projects, do different things, and that's especially true here in the Call of Duty franchise. But I could go on here, guys, but I think I'm going to end off the video here. This video is already pretty long. Again, I highly recommend checking out the Kotaku article linked down below, because it really does open your eyes to how Black Ops 4 was developed and what it's like on the inside, and I would love to hear what you guys think about all this down there in the comments. What do you think about the current state of the Call of Duty franchise? Where do you see it going in the future? What do you think about Call of Duty's development cycle? Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments, because, man, this is pretty interesting stuff right here, if you ask me, and I don't feel as though this story is over yet. I have a feeling that we're going to start hearing even more from former Treyarch employees, maybe some Infinity Ward employees or Sledgehammer employees. We're going to hear more about the development of the different Call of Duty games and what really goes on behind the scenes, and I'm very thankful that Kotaku dug so deep with this article here. I'm very happy they decided to get all this information for us, because it really does open your eyes to what goes on behind the scenes, and I'm interested to see where this is going to go in the future. Not only the story, but the Call of Duty franchise as a whole, because, of course, Modern Warfare is relatively right around the corner, right? It's coming out pretty soon. The multiplayer reveal is going to be coming, as well as, assumably, the beta and everything else. And on top of that, we have to wonder, is the post-launch content for Modern Warfare going to be really good, or is it going to be really bad? Because with Raven Software and Sledgehammer failing with COD 2020, which forces Treyarch to work on COD 2020, this means that Infinity Ward now has to release Call of Duty 2021 instead of Call of Duty 2022, which means they're pushed forward an entire year with their development process. So are they going to be so preoccupied with that game that they can't support Modern Warfare? Like, what is going to happen here? Again, I feel as though the Call of Duty franchise is reaching a breaking point, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this is all going to play out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for you guys here today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please drop me a rating. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.